right, welcome back, my friends. Another Friday, another live stream. And this time, unlike the last couple weeks, I actually have a plan today. I have stuff prepared that I want to work on. But these are live streams. As usual, they are free to do whatever you guys want. Hey, Smork TV, thank you for becoming a channel member. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate the support. Wow, starting the stream off to a good start. Hopefully this means if you're here at this time, I'll be able to see you. I'll get to look forward to seeing you for the members only live streams on Wednesday. That's a smaller group, so we don't always have as many people pop by, but thank you. Glad to have you on the side. All right. So here's what I'm doing today. Here I have 12 shorts figured out. So what I've been doing, you guys may have noticed, I'm sure you did notice. In fact, some of you are here because I've done this. The last month or so, about last 2 months actually, September and August, I've really been experimenting with shorts. I've taken a little bit of a break away from longer format content just to kind of get used to the idea of using these shorter videos. So after about 2 months of experimentation, I have found a good kind of routine. I found a nice kind of series of videos. You guys seem to really enjoy the 3-chord combo videos where I take three CRs and I demonstrate them for different moods. For example, today's video on Instagram, because I released them on Instagram first, then like a week or so later, or whenever I run out, YouTube gets it. So today's Instagram reel is about romantic chord combinations. And just how they kind of work together. And so that was today's video. But basically, once or twice a week, I'm going to be releasing a different approach. So, for example, magical in like a month or so. But obviously, I need to create all of these ahead of time. So I've already gone through and I've created a bunch of these, as you can see. I think there's like maybe one that I still have to do, which is like the adventure one, which is, yeah, just piano so far. So I've got to come up with some ideas for that. But something I figured I'd do today is another type of video that seems to do decently well are tips on creating melodies. So I figured I'd do something similar and just create a bunch of melodies based off similar kind of vibes and genres. So that's what we're going to do today. Is I'm just going to start cranking out a bunch of different melodies sketched on piano, maybe flesh them out a little bit, see what we do. Now, the reason why I'm making all of these in batches is so that once I've got a bunch of reels, once I got a couple months worth stocked up, now that I've got a nice flow, I figure out what kind of videos I need to make, stuff like that, what you guys enjoy. I plan on getting back to the longer format tutorials. So something that you guys seem to be really excited about, at least on Instagram, is the idea of me breaking down soundtracks. So you can't see it off camera. I've got a massive bookshelf next to me. It's filled with like all my favorite textbooks, but I've also got like a shelf full of my favorite movies as well. So I'm going to probably start doing some kind of not vlog, but like video essays. Video essays about things I think composers can learn from different movies. Similar to like, if you guys ever watched like the podcast I did during COVID, something like that. But yeah, let's kind of get started, shall we? First, I'm going to, what kind of emotion should I do? We got a slow stream today. I wonder, oh, I forgot to advertise it, didn't I? That's all right. We'll get people to stop by. 23, welcome. Welcome back, my friend. Okay, so 23 says, hopefully the occasional soundtrack featuring synths as well. Oh, definitely. Yeah, so so I'm not just going to be doing video essays. I've also gotten requests about like basics on mixing. I'll be putting together finally a tutorial on like fundamental mixing techniques, similar to how I have a playlist on like harmony, basics of melody writing, all that stuff. I'll finally be putting one together for mixing. Probably put one together for realistic MIDI mockups as well. But yeah, there's all kinds of topics. So if you guys have requests, since I'm going to start getting back to creating actual kind of tutorials, if you have requests for topics you would like me to explore, let me know. Because, not gonna lie, I'm starting to run out of ideas a little bit. I've done like 300 tutorials. I've been doing this for a while, so after a while, I feel like I'm repeating myself on some stuff. but what have you. So I feel like the brass, this is a bad brass one. Whereas I feel like the brass is a bit too much there. The choir is a little soft here too. Strings are very overpowering here. I'll fix that later. Right now, let's see, 23. I neglected learning how to mix. I need to really study that. Yeah, mixing is a hard one to get into for me, just because it's my least favorite part. I like sketching ideas. I like composing ideas. It's not my mixing is not my favorite part. No, I do not want to remove that. Let's see our sketches. Let's create a romantic melody, shall we? 23. It's so boring. My ADHD takes over so fast while studying mixing. Yeah, I know. It's a struggle I really can resonate with. It's just not my thing. It's not my thing. If I had the budget, I would pay someone to do all my mixing for me. But it is an important skill that you have to learn if you want to be a composer. So let's do here a romantic melody. Let's take some ideas from the CRs, shall we? What were... We got C major to F major, so 1 to 4. Then C major to G minor, so 1 to -5. So let's do that. Let's create our chord progression. Melody sketches. We will do my way of writing melodies. You guys probably know if you've been around for a little while. 23 definitely knows. Start with my chords first. And then we can do... All right, so here we have our chord progression. Oops, if my piano will play. Let's do here. Let's split this up, actually. Just make this straight up our. So we've got our main idea, repetition of the game, new idea. It's not 8 bars long. Let's do that. We'll do a repetition back to our original idea. So this is our chord progression. All right, let's create our nice little bass line to anchor it all together. So here, why is it so colorless? Let's do velocity. We've got our nice little chord progression. Let's drop all this an octave. Very simple little chord progression based off some romantic sounding chord relationships, mostly that 1 to 4. Then we've got that 1 to -5 or minor 5. Then we're back to that 1-4. And then we've got that stereotypical romantic cadence. So we've got a nice romantic sounding chord progression here. Let's start creating a romantic melody. So, Sudanva, welcome, my friend. Welcome, awesome. So we got some people showing up now. Good. So to create a romantic melody, I usually find romantic melodies a good metaphor. So first off, I guess let's start off. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's use my method for emotions. All right, we're going to identify the valence, size, and energy. All right, so this is romantic. Obviously, we gotta try and think of, we'll say young love. This is the type of romantic theme we're going for. We're going for a young love, young couple. They're just starting to get to know each other kind of thing. Very beautiful, very hopeful. So we're gonna want this to be bright. All right. These three elements, valence, size, and energy, if you are completely new to the channel, these three are the keys to emotion in music. This is something, I don't know why emotions are treated as this big mystery with music. They're not. So I didn't go to school for music. I went to school to be a therapist. And emotions can be described using many different psychometric tools, many different methods, many different models. And probably the best one for music is something called the circumplex model of effect, which could be further broken, which is valence and energy. All right, which I've broken down into size and energy, because basically, if you could decide how valence, how bright or dark an emotion is, how overwhelming versus intimate the emotion is, and how physically expressive or energizing the emotion is, you've got a really good description of your music. So, young love. We can describe this emotion as being bright, all right? Hopeful, all right? A little giddy, all right? Size. We could say this is gonna be intimate, all right? We'll say it's a young love, so like you could say young, either the people are young or it's like young early stages of love. It's an intimate experience. Yeah, it's a little overwhelming, but you want to share it with yourself. You want to keep it to yourself, so it brightens up the whole day, but you're not gonna go around. It's not gonna hijack everything. And energy. I'd say, let's go with a little bit of a nervous energy, all right? So nothing too low, but not overwhelming either. So we'll say moderate. Basically, levels of movement. So now we've got a description of our emotion, young love. And obviously, now we have a description of our music. Our music needs to sound bright, it needs to sound intimate, and it needs to have moderate amount of movement. All right? So from here, with my models of emotion and music, my next step is once I've described these three things, I like to go looking for something that's called musical gestures. All right? These are your metaphors. These are just the ideas that come to your mind. If you're like, hey, I have this idea. If the trumpet did this, I think that'd be really cool. That's a musical gesture. It's a small little idea you have for your music that can help bring something to life. So, for example, a musical gesture I have in my mind for creating kind of like a romantic theme would be starting with a large leap, followed large leap up, followed by smaller steps back down. Almost like a sighing, almost like a sighing motif. All right, that's just an idea that pops into my head. Sometimes you have different ideas. Sometimes you struggle with coming up with ideas. If you struggle with coming up with ideas, my recommendation for musical gestures, for coming up with them, is another method I've developed, which is the 9 parameters approach. Now, when I say I developed this, I did not invent these 9 parameters, but this approach of tackling them one at a time is something I've never seen any other composer do. I've never come across it in textbooks. I've never seen it on YouTube. This is something I developed for myself that just kind of made intuitive sense. Part of 23 was talking about having ADHD. I have very severe ADHD. And so I like to, one of the parts of the way my brain works is I reverse engineer things. And so this is a method I came up with, but you'll basically take 9 different parameters of music: tempo, timbre, texture, rhythm, register, articulations, dynamics, harmony, and pitch/melody. Which melody technically isn't a parameter. I say pitch, but it's a fit in for melody because melody is technically pitch plus rhythm. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And basically, for coming up with musical gestures, you can take them one at a time and say, all right, how can these ideas how can each one help impact be used to portray our idea? How can tempo be used to portray Young Love? One thing we can do right off the bat that I just thought of, tempo, I could do 3/4 time instead of 4/4 time, which I tend to default to, which most people tend to default to. Let's try writing this in 3/4 time. A waltz. It's a little more romantic, don't you think? A waltz is a little more romantic of a time signature. Let's shorten each of these. Bring each of these in a little bit. And then, so that's one way I can use tempo. Whether you'd say that time signature is actually tempo or not, whether the argument could be made that time signature is more to do with rhythm, doesn't matter. The point isn't to be dogmatic about each of these elements. The point isn't to say, oh, well, we're thinking tempo right now. I can only come up with ideas strictly related to tempo. No, this is a tool. It's a tool to build momentum. It's a tool to build inspiration. And so when I thought tempo, how can tempo be used to Young Love? 3/4 time is the first thing that popped in my head. I don't care if that's tempo or rhythm. It's an idea. I liked it. I'm going with it. I'm awesome, right? Okay, cool. And then we have our chord progression. Would be nice if my piano played. Do. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2. Oops, what's that? All right, so a little meager performance on my 25 key keyboard. And we can continue going on, but the idea being, I've already got multiple ideas. I had the 3/4 time. Let's see what else I can come up with, right? 3/4 time. I like the idea of having my primary motif have a large leap up, followed by smaller steps back down. I'm gonna say by fluttering. So a little like, but back down, like a little, like not a straight line back down, but kind of like fluttering, like a little bit of floating a little bit. I like that imagery. I think that works well. Texture. We could do articulations. I like the idea of a very legato melody. Legato personality. A nice lyrical legato kind of thing. And yeah. So right off the bat, I've already got a pretty good description of my music with this method. All right, I know it needs to be bright. I know it needs to feel intimate. I want a little moderate levels of movement. So something I could try doing is an arpeggio. But basically, the idea is once you have your breakdown of your target emotion, you can just use the 9 parameters to brainstorm how can these each be used to create this description. And that's what I've got here. I've got a nice little idea here. I'm sure there'll be others I come up with. But before we start sketching this melody, let's see what the chat has to say. Goobermeister, no, the brain is not real. It's magic. Yes, all magical. 23 having a good time. You guys are having a good... Okay, so yeah, lots of different scales and modes have different personalities that are associated with them. That is true. Dorian 23 is speaking my language. I love Dorian. That is the quintessential sound of my music. If I can find my pedal. That simple sound is one I've used so many times. It's, I love that sound. Dorian, the Dorian mode is my favorite mode by far. And then especially if you take the Dorian mode and you go with like sevenths. Then it just becomes fun. All right, All right, you guys are getting me distracted. Yes, I did invent the question mark 23. What else is there aside from a legato melody? That's all I do. Oh, there's so many. There's so many things you can do. So a legato, you can have lots of like bouncy. All right, I'm not gonna try and improvise anything now. I'm a terrible improviser, and I've got a tiny little keyboard in front of me. But yeah. So for example, on the last soundtrack I worked on, it's actually been a minute since I worked on a soundtrack. I've been focusing on YouTube a lot. The last official soundtrack I worked on was for a dance troupe, and I've played the music before you guys. And one of the pieces called Splish had two very different, one very legato lyrical melody and one very crisp, kind of jazzy, bouncy type melody. There's all kinds of personalities. But it occurs to me that probably wasn't a real question. That was just a little fun comment. All right, so let's start writing this melody, shall we? See what we can come up with. All right, this is my first time having an original flavor Ghost, a tiny little can. Don't think I like it that much. It's okay. But I love their raspberry and cream. Their raspberry and cream energy drink might very well be my favorite energy drink at the moment. Let's see here. So I wanted a nice large leap. We could start with an E and leap up to a C. It's a very romantic sound, don't you think? A minor sixth. That's the Star Wars sound. All right, so that's yeah, I'm getting distracted already. So we got the nice leap. And then I wanted to move my way back down. All right, so this is our basic shape. Let's reverse the rhythm, shall we? And then we can we're gonna use period structure, because period structure tends to lend itself very well to kind of romantic parts. So for those of you who don't know, period structure, sentence structure, all those terms, they're common structural patterns often found in music. Structures are just fancy words for patterns. Patterns that are inherently useful for music because music is based by its very nature on the presence or disruption of patterns. These are not cookie cutters. They're more like grammar, musical grammar. You don't need to understand that words go, what is it, like subject, or like subject, verb, object, to understand that it sounds weird when Yoda talks, all right? Because he does things backwards. He changes the order of the words. Languages have grammar. You don't learn the grammar by studying it. You can, but most people learn their first language by listening and adapting it and adopting it. It's the same with musical structures many times. 23. No, I wanted to know because arps and ostinato aren't really melody even. So as opposed to legato, you are saying one alternative vocally is essentially yodeling. Not necessarily yodeling. But here, let's pull up a piece. I'm gonna pull up a piece from a soundtrack I did several years ago for a play called The Bridge. The primary theme, some of the OGs of this channel might remember, because this was when I first started doing the composing live streams. Well, I'd done a couple live streams beforehand, but there was a period of time where I was spending so much of my time and effort working on a specific soundtrack that I didn't have time. Let's see, where's the print spooler? Yep, stop it, because Finale, for whatever reason, can't run when the printer spooler is running, so that's giving me issues. But I was so busy working on the soundtrack, it was taking so much of my time that I couldn't post routinely to YouTube, and YouTube penalizes channels that don't post routinely. So one of the things I did is I started just writing the soundtrack live. And so some of you might remember this one. let's see here. Where is the bridge? Bridge right here. So the idea of a legato, that's not the right one. The idea of a legato melody is one where the melodies are very lyrical. They string one into the other. Not all melodies are going to be legato. Some of them are bouncy. So for example, this opening idea, these 4 bars, you're going to hear them in the brass. This is not a legato melody. In fact, the trumpet 1 has the primary melody. So does trombone number 2. In between, we have trumpet 2 and trombone 1 playing accentuation. They're playing a reduced version of the melody, meaning they are hitting every other note, basically. And you will hear that, especially in the first couple bars, it's a little crisper. It's not entirely legato. It's got more bounce to it. Because remember, legato refers to very smooth. The notes slightly overlap in a MIDI arrangement. The notes blur one into the next. But for now, focus on this brass section. So these slur marks, these are legato performances. So you can hear how this melody has a nice good mix of legato versus non-legato textures. So bum ba ba da. These notes are legato, these are not. There's a detachment between these notes. Bum bum ba ba dum. Bum ba ba da ba da bum ba dum. All right, that was very out of tune. I just sang my own music out of tune. But especially that beginning, I'm not sure if this is a good example. I didn't have this example prepped, so I'm just pulling this up. Another example we can pull up is again from, this was from the bridge. Let's see, footfall. Let's do split. Nope, wrong one. I have too many files from the same things. So splish, not sheet music. Jesse's theme, not the draft. Splish, is this one? Yes, this is the one. All right. So again, you're gonna hear. Where's the melody in this one? The trumpet. The trumpet is gonna be playing the melody again. It's a very simple sustained melody, but it's not necessarily legato. Again, that idea that the notes run into each other. Let's unsolo the piano. And then it becomes gradually more legato as it goes on. But yeah, so legato is an articulation type. Melodies are not inherently legato by their nature of being melodies. They can be performed legato. They can also be performed staccato. Or in the case of strings, they could be pizzicato. They could be détaché. If in the strings, there's lots of different ways that they can be performed. A legato melody is one which is very lyrical. Everything kind of like flows into the next. Awesome. Glad the examples help. All right, so let's keep working on these melodies, shall we? Then we've got our main idea of leap up and then come back down, leap up, come back down. Let's create a general shape of... And we'll do... Let's do actually E. And we'll do kind of like a come up and then come back down kind of thing. And then let's listen to our idea so far and see if anything comes up. Any other questions? It's been a relatively slow stream today. Any questions? I know I'm supposed to be working on sample melodies, but if you guys got any like challenges or something to distract me from the work I'm supposed to be doing, that's always welcome. We'll just end it like that. So now we've got our fundamental melody shape. Let's start adding. Just to keep, here's what we're going to do. To make sure that I can remember that this is a waltz feel. I'm going to do this just so I can keep the general waltz feel alive. I'm going to be real with y'all. I have completely lost interest in this project I'm working on. Supposed to be making videos, prepping melody samples for videos on YouTube. And yet... So then we're going to make... We got this nice little idea. I like the idea. All I'm doing is I'm kind of listening, making small little adjustments here and there. I like the B flat actually better. Let's bring this down here. This is a nice little syncopated. Nah, I don't like that one. Bring this down a little bit because the velocity is a bit weird. Kind of like that. Let's listen to it. And then we're going to repeat our main idea because it's a period structure piece of music, which goes A, B, A, C. Let's find a local peak. Da, da, da. What if we do a leap up to E? Da, 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 da. No, don't like that. Da, 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 da. Let's see if we can find, because the main thing is like I have the same high note here, here, here. Let's see if we can go a little bit higher. I like the idea. I like the idea of moving up. I'm wondering if that's too high. What if I tried E? So instead of an F major, we went F7. Let's try it. '23. I wonder if the school year starting has something to do with the stream being so. That's a good point. I actually don't know what the average age of my channel's subscribers. I probably should know that. I probably should know what my channel demographics are. That's a good point, though. I hadn't thought about that. So if the school year has started, well, in theory, that would only really, well, maybe. I guess it wouldn't make sense to change it because that would only impact people like in my time zone, right? I don't know, but yeah, we're missing a lot of the usuals. Aditya's not here. Jack's not here. David's not here. We got a lot of the regulars. And now I'm incredibly self-conscious about all of the regulars I didn't name. If I didn't name you, I'm sorry. It's not that I can't remember you. I know you're here. It's just there's a lot of you guys, and you guys are awesome, and I love having you on my channel. It's always fun to see the faces. Anywho, let's see this. Ba-da-ba, ba-da-da, ba-da-da. I like the E. I like that. I like the idea of like a nice. I'm thinking of like a ponticello. I'm already thinking about like the performance, like ba da ba ba da 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 ba da da ba da 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 da. I like that, but this feels sudden. And one of the reasons why this feels sudden is because this is an unprepared register. Up to this point, we have firmly established that we're sticking to just kind of one register, one octave. So one way we can make this feel less jarring is to simply leave this octave, go a little higher, not instead of just staying with the C. So we could try going. Let's go to an E, see how that is. Nope, that sounds too weird. What if we went down instead of up? It also could sound weird because this is the tritone right here. But But the funny thing is with romantic themes, especially kind of like, this is turning out to be a little bit of a quirky love theme, like a rom-com type love theme. That kind of dissonance actually isn't discouraged. Let's see, how could we fix this? How could we improve this? Right? That sounded a bit like a quirky little dance. So what if I took this one and moved it up? Let's do... Don't know if I like that either. This little leap. I love the ending, and I like these ideas. I just feel like they don't go together. You know what I'm saying? Da 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 da. What if we did it, made it an octave? Da 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 da. That works much, much better. It's weird how that little thing... It's because, technically, with the octave, it resets nicely. The B, I really liked that tritone. I like the idea. Let's give it a little more juice there. Let's do that. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. And then we decided the octave sounded better. I like that. All right, there we go. We've got our nice little quirky love theme. All right. And then I feel like that would be a stringed instrument. I feel lots of portamento would be here. So portamento, if you're used to, portamento is kind of like the original music theory term for glide. If you're used to the port systems on a synth, or the glide systems on a synth, where you go from one note and you slide up to the next one, or slide down, that's called portamento. And it's particularly easy on stringed instruments. So I feel like part of the quirky nature of this, because it does feel like a quirky kind of like Young Love, romantic feel. I feel like that would be part of the performance. So I'll probably give this to like a string instrument, like a violin. Maybe arrange it for a full string quartet. But not bad for just coming up with something for scratch as an academic exercise, right? And again, this approach of starting by describing your emotion first, and then using the 9 parameters method, which, yes, I did develop 23. I did not invent the 9 parameters themselves, but this approach of going one by one, that's something that I've never seen anyone else do. So maybe I invented it, maybe I didn't, but I came up with it for me at least. And then using those 9 parameters to brainstorm how you can come up with different musical gestures and different musical metaphors, how different elements of your music can be used to portray this description of your emotions. Now, if you want a super deep dive into this, if you are new to the channel, if you're one of the wonderful, wonderful people who are new to the channel lately, I have so many resources on emotions and music. Like I said, I went to school to be a therapist. Then I somehow became a professional composer instead. And emotions and music are one of my favorite topics to explore. So I've got lots of free blog posts. I've got lots of videos on YouTube. I also have a book and an online class that you can sign up. The online class comes with 3 private lessons. They don't have to be about the class material. They can be about anything you'd like. But they are wonderful resources. Check it out. Tabletopcomposer.com. Check out my website. Browse my bookshop. These 2 books, The Musical Storyteller and The Emotions in Music, book are probably the most popular. Well, technically, actually, this one right here, the Composer's Roadmap, it's my free book on how to teach yourself music. This one is the most popular in terms of like I get downloads of this every single day. You can see it's got very good reviews. People seem to really enjoy it. It's a free book. Check it out. It's one of my little passion projects. Then I have my textbook is probably my next favorite. Like my next most popular. This book teaches you how to compose. From step one, you can check out physical copies on Amazon. Table of contents can be found here. This book teaches you how to go from like start to finish, how to learn how to compose music. And then after that, my third most popular would be the Emotions in Music ebook, which I also have a class. Emotions and Music class, which again, you sign up for this. There are payment plans available. There's supposed to be. There it is. If you sign up for the Emotions and Music class, you also get automatically enrolled in the beta testing. So this is a new class I'm putting together. That's an expansion of this. It's all about just storytelling with music. So everything you need, from like the basics of composing all the way to writing themes for characters, developing them, all that kind of cool stuff. This class, I am building it, and as I build it, beta testers are taking it, just kind of practicing and having a good time. If you sign up for this class, you are automatically enrolled in that one as well, free of charge, just as a little like thank you. And this class comes with 3 private lessons, like I said. So check it out. These are all ways you can help support the channel, help your boy pay his bills, and all that kind of cool stuff. Now, I think we'll probably call it early today. It was a pretty slow stream today. Thank you to everybody who stopped by. If there are any questions, we'll kind of recap. I'll recap real quick. If there are questions, I will keep the stream going. If there are questions, ideas, requests, challenges, stuff like that. But for a recap, for those of you who are kind of new, I'm just working on content for new shorts. After I've got a bunch of shorts banked up, I'm going to get back to making full-length tutorials again. So 2 of the most popular shorts that I've been working on are the idea of chord relationships for particular emotions. For example, chord relationships. Today's video on Instagram was chord relationships and romantic music. Everything is muted. There's kind of these romantic qualities and harmony. So that was today's video. Next week, I'll be doing one about like mystery, probably. And then I have chord relationships for like tragic music. I've got ones from magical settings. Suspenseful stuff. And cool stuff like that. So I'm working on these. And then the next series I'm going to start working and preparing to just great is tips for melodies. So today we learned about writing. I composed a quirky little kind of romantic theme for all right in front of you guys. And I'll eventually make a short detailing common traits often found in this style of melody. And then a repeat. Ba-da-da-da-da-da. I like this. I think this is a pretty decent idea I came up with. I'll probably tweak it here and there a little bit. I keep going back and forth. Do I like the F here? Ba-da-ba, ba-da-da, da-da-da-da-da-da. Or do I like the B with that little crunchy tritone that gets thrown in? Da-da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da-da. They're both good. I'll come back. I'll pick one. I'll have to make one eventually. And then I'll make a very quick arrangement of it to make it sound more romantic, because a piano sketch can only go so far. And then I'll make a video about it. Let's see. Yes. Yeah, Glide and Portamento are very fun to work with in synths. I agree, 23. 23. I got a lot out of the melody talk. I maybe interpreted it poorly, though. I need to rewatch exactly what you said at the end with the dynamics and pizzicato etc. because otherwise it's really just saw. The answer is the two types of melody are Zelda music and Mario music. Okay, yeah. So for example, I can give you some ideas. So let's take this one idea. You're getting a little fixated on the melodies. So same exact melody. Let's put it in strings. Well, let's listen to the strings. Now, what happens if we put that same melody, no other changes, in spiccato? It's got a different personality. Same exact melody. What happens if we put this in pizzicato, plucked strings? And again, the personality. So the melody itself, there are, yes, some melodies can be better suited for legato performances. Some can be better suited for short pizzicato strings, but they're basically just descriptors, describing the general personality and the techniques used. So if we listen to this in pizzicato now. And it's honestly just as simple as that. You've got the melody, and then it's just how do you describe the personality of that melody and the types of techniques used to perform it. But glad it was helpful. All right, so I think that's it. We've got some more people joining. If you guys have questions, what do you want? I'll play some stuff again to buy us some time. But this is what I'm going to say. Notepad. I don't need a notepad. Speak now or forever hold your peace. All right, let's listen to some cool little chord combinations. If you've got questions, let me know in the comments. I will address them before I leave. If not, we're probably just going to call it. I like the tragic one. I think the tragic one's my favorite. I'm just a sucker for this library is what it is. I love the Voxos epic choirs. Especially the solo boy. Oops. Like the solo young child singer is just such a beautiful library. And that reverb is beautiful. Let's crank some more reverb on that. Let's add just a cathedral. And then after this, I'm probably going to call it a day. Oof. Basilica of Santo Spiritu. Let's do 40%. Make this a super wet. I love that. Oh, there's something about the human voice that's just gorgeous. All right. I like it. I actually kind of like that pull. Let's make this a shorter tail. Make this a significantly smaller percentage. And I might just keep that for the example. Tail is a little long still. Let's do 5 seconds. There we go. That's the one. Modulation data was a bit spiky at the end of that. Let's get rid of this. And with that, my friends, I think that's going to bring us to the end of another live stream. Thank you, my friends. MVP awards go to 23 for being by far the most active person in the chat. So thank you, 23. And for Smork TV for becoming a new channel member. Thank you, everyone who stopped by. Thank you to Goobermeister, Sudanva, everybody who made a comment, everyone who stopped by, everyone who liked the stream. I appreciate all of you. And next week is the live feedback stream. All right, start sending me your music on Monday. I will make an announcement. All right. Until then, though, my friends, have a wonderful weekend. All right. Bye-bye.